And very often you'll find a zipper hidden in the arm. And
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You'll excuse the fact that I'm out of breath, but about 10 or 15 minutes ago, a tragic thing, from all indications at this point, has happened in the city of Dallas. Let me quote to you this. And you'll excuse me if I am out of breath. A bulletin, this is from the United Press, from Dallas. President Kennedy and Governor John Connally have been cut down by assassins' bullets in downtown Dallas.
Ironically, that would have, I extended for that trip because I was getting out just before Christmas, and I would have got out November the 15th because that's when I enlisted. So I extended for a month because it was either that or go home totally broke. So I needed some money, so that was the reason I really extended for. And normally it took us like 2 to 3 weeks to get on station. So we left, I forgot, September something. Well, our normal patrol area was off the coast of Siberia, so we were always within 25-30 miles off the coast of Siberia where we patrol at, and we were that's probably where we were at. They knew we were there. They knew we were there, and they knew we were here. It was that type of thing. But we served. There was another purpose, though. While we were there, we had our guys, our electronics guys our radio man and stuff they monitored Russian transmission, and we were actually, when Kennedy was killed, we were right at the end of our trip. We were just about there, and back in them days, we were submerged all the time. The only ways that we got information was through a trailing wire, and the trailing wire sometimes it would go under, sometimes it'd be on the surface. So you get information, but it'd come in drips and drabs a lot of time. So when Kennedy was actually killed, we wasn't sure right away whether he was dead or what it was, but we got enough information to immediately went to battle station dismissal, because you had to assume that it was a foreign country, probably Russians, that they killed him, and didn't find out probably till a day later that he was actually dead. And it was of course it was very melancholy on board, and most people like Kennedy. But even then there was politics, and a lot of the officers were Republicans, and I can recall one officer, and he was a good guy, but he just, if they wouldn't have shot him, we would have got him in the next election anyway. And I almost hit him, and I told him, "You son of a bitch, and he apologized. He apologized to me. He was a good guy, just blurted it out. Didn't really mean it, But we went to battle station dismissal, and we were at battle station dismissal probably, I have to guess now, but it's probably around 3 hours. I might have been in the control room when it happened, because I was the last trip I was on. Even though I was an E5 and I was a missile technician, I volunteered to be on the planes and stuff like that, so some of the guys could get qualified. So I might have been in. Matter of fact, that's where I think I was. I think I was in the control room. Oh man, you could be starting World War III at the very minimum. If you launched a missile properly and it got to its target, you'd be killing probably thousands of people, because they were, for what they were big warheads. They were probably 6 or 7 times the size of Hiroshima's. So we didn't have to get close to the target; just got to get in the neighborhood. It was like, and we probably wouldn't get that close to the target. Yes, well, they wouldn't have been deep into the Soviet Union, but they would have been military bases that in Siberia, that that's all they ever told us, The Regulus 1, which is what we had. They had a Regulus 2, but they discontinued it because they started building FPMs. Regulus 2 was really it was a supersonic missile. The Regulus 1 wasn't. It was just it would plod along at 500 miles an hour. Its good thing was it was just a round. It was like a big drone today. That's all it was a drone. So it flew low and was fairly undetectable by radar. Well, we had 4 missiles, and we thought we'd get one off. It would take us 5 minutes from the time we opened the hangar door to get it out and launch it. Take 5 minutes. We thought we were good enough that we could get off 2, but after that, because we guided the missiles in with radar, the Russians could actually track us with another missile and destroy us. So we had no expectations other than getting them off and probably dying out there, with it. Well, all the training we'd had launching missiles and stuff like that, it came into play, and I was like, okay, we got to do this right, And of course, you're anticipating going out into the dark ocean, and chances are we'd have probably lost a couple of guys just in trying to launch the missile, because there was no railings on the deck, and it was pretty. Usually, when you came up after being underwater for a long time, the deck was pretty slippery, and so it was. You just didn't know. Once the hangar door opened, then you just get out there, and they ran the thing out and put it on the launcher, and we go from there. No, we were ancient history type missiles. The Regulus was a stopgap missile. They had already produced the FPM boats. Matter of fact, they were getting ready to launch. I forgot which was the first one, George Washington, or I can't remember anymore. But at any rate, they had developed the missile. They had developed the missile, the FPM boats, and they had developed Polaris missiles and stuff like that. And they were in the process of starting to bring them over. So we were on our last leg as a line of defense or line of offense, whatever you want to call it. And matter of fact, I think that the cruise I was on was the last cruise that the Growler made. Totally, where till we stood down and found out that it wasn't it was a random shooter that did it, But that's a very tense moment when you don't know what it feels like to go to battle stations missile when you're carrying nuclear warheads, knowing that you might be the match that lit the world on fire, And so we're just kind of, everybody was kind of, well, maybe this is it, And we had never launched. We used to do practice launches in around Hawaii. Tests were we would go to there was a base in, I don't know if it's still there, but it's in Kauai. It was Bonham Air Force Base. It was an abandoned Air Force base, so we would go over there and launch missiles, and then they'd launch a plane off a carrier, and the plane would come in and guide it in, Well, that was a kind of a trick shot, It's sort of like if you got a pool table and you're trying to put the ball in the hole by blowing on it. That was about, and they had a success rate of about one out of every 2 they destroy, because the pilots, they would land, they'd be following the missile in and guiding it at the same time they're flying their own plane, and as soon as they had like a drop button and hit the deck, they just shoot off, because they didn't want to get hit by a bouncing Regulus, so where the water was nice and warm. Well, if we had a launch there, we'd have to run out in ice cold water, and that was like, not what I was looking forward to, because my job was actually to hook up the the cable for the booster rockets that would shoot the missile off. You know, so I'm going, okay, let's see, salt water mixed with electricity. It could, when you pushed it on, you might launch it. You know. So anyway, we never did. We never did go on the deck, but we were anticipating pulling it out. And then finally we stood down. But at that time we were all in the hangar with the missile, waiting there for, you know, whatever would happen. You know. Well, after we stood down, we got down below, we started getting dribs and drabs of information. The Radio Shack was handing us little, actually it wasn't even the radio, we used to carry communications experts, which were non-submarine people, but they would listen to Russian transmissions and stuff like that. So they were always and they would get a blurb in and they'd hand it to us. You get a blurb in about the thing, and we had it. I wound up with, I don't know how many pages of stuff, you know. So I got together with the storekeeper, and the storekeeper knew how to type. So I got together with him, and I would edit stuff out. And okay, this doesn't mean nothing, this doesn't mean nothing. You piece together sentences and stuff like that. And it took us about a couple of days to put everything together, you know, to get all the information we got in. It might have been longer than that even, I can't remember. But it was a ton of information we got, and we managed to make it coherent for the crew, you know. And when we were all done getting it all together, we passed it out to the crew, you know, and it was my most fondest memory. Guys come up and thanked us for putting it all together, because they, up at that point, they didn't know what had actually happened, you know. And, so it was kind of, that part of it was kind of good, but that was probably the only good part of that.